How's it going, guys? This is my review for episode 2 of The Last of Us. And right off the bat, I gotta say that this was a great episode. Now, one thing I've noticed so far with this TV series is with these first 2 episodes, both episodes had intros, which involved stuff that wasn't actually in the game. But what I like is that these intros give you stuff that adds to the story, and I really like that. So in episode 2, this shows you how the outbreak started, which was in Asia, in Indonesia, and it involved a woman who was an expert in fungus, and she's eating in a restaurant. And all of a sudden, these soldiers came in and told her that, she has to come with them. And naturally, she thought that she was in trouble. She asked them, did I commit a crime? And the soldier told her, no, we just need your expertise in fungus, and we need you to come look at something. So this part of the intro is very creepy because it involves an autopsy scene where it shows one of the first infected. And it's a dead body of a young woman. And the soldiers wanted the female scientist to, just take a look at the body. And the scientist noticed a bite mark on the woman's leg. And then she looked inside the mouth of the woman. And this was the part that was really creepy, is that even though the infected woman was dead, the fungus that was in her body was still alive and moving around, because the scientist had pulled some of those tendrils out of the young woman's mouth, and it was still moving, and it was just creepy. And it was at that point that the female scientist knew that they were doomed. You could tell that the woman was scared, shaken up, and the soldier had asked her if, is there any kind of medicine that we can use to fight this? And the scientist had said, no, there's no medicine, there's no vaccine, there's nothing. So then the soldier was like, well, what are we supposed to do? And the woman just flat out said, bomb the whole city and everybody in it. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's messed up. But the scientist knew what was happening, that, she was asking about, were there other victims? And the soldier said, yes, there's 14 people missing. The woman that they did the autopsy on had bit 4 people, and all those people eventually ended up turning into infected. So this scientist knew that they were pretty much screwed, that there was nothing they could do. So that's the intro. So then it picks up where we left off with Ellie, Joel, and Tess. Now, for those that played the video games, they would instantly recognize that they're in the downtown area and they're making their way through the city because their goal is to get to the Capitol building. And I gotta say that the visuals for the downtown look excellent. I mean, it looked just like the game. And then the big highlight of this episode was when they got to the museum and we finally get to see clickers for the first time. And let me tell you that these clickers were no pushovers. These clickers were dangerous. Joel, Tess, and Ellie barely survived that battle. These clickers look just like the way they did in the game. They sounded just like they did in the game. The movements were perfect. And they were really dangerous. I mean, this would be the equivalent of playing the game on the hardest difficulty. That's what it looked like with this fight scene in the TV series. And they did a really great job with that. Then they make their way to the Capitol building, and for those that played the video game, they knew what was coming. And basically what happened was Tess was bitten in that fight with the clickers, and she told Joel that, you know, just go ahead and leave without her. Now, the whole scenario with Tess being bitten and with her staying behind at the Capitol building, it went a little bit different in the TV series compared to the game, because in the game, the Federal soldiers, they came and basically killed all the Fireflies, and they were the ones that killed Tess. But in the TV series, it was a whole bunch of infected that came to the Capitol building and killed Tess. Or Tess basically killed herself and a whole bunch of infected with her. And now one thing that I really like is with now we get a better explanation of why they didn't use spores in the TV series. Because in the video games, the infection spreads through the spores, which if you breathe it in, you get infected. But they didn't do that with the TV series. But what they use is the tendrils. It basically grows inside the infected's body, and it could stretch out through the ground, and it's basically like all the infected have a hive mind where they're all kind of mentally connected. And what adds tension is that because of these tendrils being all over the place, let's say if a regular person is walking around and accidentally steps on one of these tendrils that's on the ground, because it's all connected together, it basically alerts all the infected within the area, and they'll all come swarming to wherever you are. And that's like a whole different type of tension that you don't get in the game that you get in this TV series, because you really have to watch where you're stepping. And you also have to be cautious with which infected you kill, because killing certain infected can also alert all the other infected that, hey, you know, this is where you are, and they're going to come straight to where you are. So overall, this episode was really good. This episode was actually directed by Neil Druckmann himself, which was one of the main writers from both of the Last of Us video games. And that just goes to show you that when you actually have somebody that's actually involved from the original source material doing the TV series and sticking to the source material, you get really good results. And I'm just hoping that other Hollywood studios and different movie companies and different directors, hopefully they can learn from this, that, you know, stick to the source material. You know, you can make some little changes here and there, but if you just stick to the source material, you end up with much, much better results, instead of what a lot of these writers and other directors do, where they don't go by the source material at all, and they just stray away from the story, do a complete 180, do something completely different, something that, you know, where the name of the movie, it's just basically in name only, because it doesn't feel like the original source material. So far, they're 2 for 2. I've watched 2 episodes. I've loved both episodes. I'm hoping that they keep it up, keep the momentum going. I'm hoping episode 3 is going to be just as good as these 2 episodes. If the rest of the season is just as good as these 2 episodes, then we're in for a real treat, and I just can't wait to see what happens next. Even though I've played both games, but I'm very curious to see what they keep the same, what they do different. And, you know, I'm just, like I said, because I've played the games and I'm liking all the parts that look like the games, but I'm also liking the additional stuff that wasn't in the games, but it adds to the story. So when you do stuff like that, you're pleasing the fans, and you're also can attract a new audience. That's how you do it. Stick to the source material. You make certain changes here and there. You know, add a few new things that build upon the source material. And when you do that, shoot, everything else is good. So from a scale of 1 to 10, I would give episode 2 I guess I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. And that's all I got to say about that.